Good morning, everyone. So today we'll pass on to a new topic on stereoisomerism. This stereoisomerism is a beautiful topic which mainly deals with the study of physical and chemical properties of the stereoisomers. So before we go into this stereochemistry or the stereoisomerism, we'll see some of the definitions for isomers, what are isomers and what are stereoisomers. All those things we'll see now. So first let me define you the term isomers. Isomers means the compounds, if they have the same molecular formula, but they have the different physical and chemical properties. That is, if two compounds, if they have the same chemical formula, but they differ in the physical and the chemical properties, and also they differ in the structural arrangements also. So those compounds are called as isomers. So coming to stereoisomers, these are the compounds. They have the identical molecular and structural formula, but they differ only in the spatial arrangements of atoms or groups. So the study of the physical and the chemical properties of the stereoisomers is called as, generally we call it as a stereochemistry. Next, coming to the types of stereoisomerism. See, there are two types of stereoisomerism. One is optical isomerism, another one is geometrical isomerism. So first, today we'll discuss more about the optical isomerism. So after completing the optical isomerism concepts, we'll move on to the geometrical isomerism. Next one, we'll see about the nature of the substance. See, the substance is said to be an optically active substance only if it has the tendency to rotate the plane polarized light. Such substances are called as optically active substances. For example, we'll see, first of all, you should know about the definition for polarized, the concept of polarized light and non-polarized light. So in the case of non-polarized light, it's an ordinary light source. The beam, in the case of ordinary light source, the waves, waves, they are vibrating in different directions and different planes. Whereas in the case of plain polarized light, the light consisting of the beams, vibrating in only one plane. So this is the difference between the non-polarized light and the polarized light. So how are we going to convert the non-polarized light into polarized light? That's what we are going to see now. See, there is a small material called Nicol prism. This Nicol prism, what is the function of this Nicol prism is, it converts the non-polarized light into polarized light. See, initially, the ordinary light consisting of the waves vibrating in different directions. So when we place a Nicol prism, it converts the non-polarized light into polarized one. So this is how the conversion takes place. So this is called the polarized light. Here the light waves vibrating in only one plane. So the Nicol prism is very much useful for the conversion of the non-polarized light to the polarized light. The entire process is called as the polarization of light. So next we'll pass on to the instrumental part. See, this is an instrument, we call it as a polarimeter. This instrument is mainly used for measuring the optical rotation of molecules in solution. For example, this is an ordinary light source which is vibrating in different directions, the waves vibrating in different planes. So now the Nicol prism is placed here. So now the emergent light consisting of the light consisting of the waves vibrating in only one plane. See, this is an there is a tube. Cylindrical tube is kept here. It's called as a polarimeter tube. The polarimeter tube, the solution, the optically active substance, it is in the form of a solution. It is kept in the polarimeter tube. So this molecule, this optically active substance, it has the tendency to rotate the plane polarized light either towards a left side or towards the right side. So if the rotation is towards the clockwise direction, we call it as a dextro-rotatory compound. If the rotation is towards the left side, we call it as a levo-rotatory compound. That is, if the compound has a tendency to rotate the plane polarized light in the clockwise direction, that particular compound is called as a dextro-rotatory compound, and it is designated by the letter D. And it has we are giving a symbol as plus, because it rotates the plane polarized light in clockwise direction. So when the rotation is in the anti-clockwise directions, we use the symbol as minus, and that compound is called as levo-rotatory compound. And here we are also using one formula to calculate the optically active optical rotation values are calculated just by using this formula. Alpha d is equal to 100 into observed angle of rotation divided by the length into decimeters into gram of substance in 100 ml of the solution. So this is the formula we use to calculate the optical rotation values for a particular substance. Next we'll move on to the conditions. What are all the conditions for a molecule to be optically active? See, first of all, in order for a substance to exhibit the optical activity, first it should have a chiral center. The molecule should have a chiral center. Chiral center means the molecule, that is one chiral carbon should be present. At least one chiral carbon should be present. It is the carbon, it is attached to the 4 different atoms or groups, that is called as a chiral carbon. And one enantiomer must be present in excess of the another. There is one, we'll see all these what are enantiomers and what are the chiral centers. All these things we'll discuss in the next slides. But these are all the conditions. First of all, the molecule should have a chiral center, and it should have one enantiomer. It must be present in excess of the other. And one isomer should be the mirror image of the another one. But that is also another condition. But the mirror images should be non-superimposable mirror images. And there should not be any elements of symmetry here in the molecule. So these are some of the conditions I have listed here for the optical activity. The next one is we'll see some examples for a chiral object. So this is an example for a compound in an object. So left hand. This left hand, when you show this left hand in the mirror, it looks like a right hand, and when you show the right hand in the mirror, it looks like a left hand. So these two objects, they have the mirror images of each other, but these mirror images are not superimposable mirror images. They are not one and the same here. And also, see, imagine this is a small, carbon. Carbon is is present here. This carbon is surrounded by 4 different atoms of the groups 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a chiral carbon, and this is called as a stereogenic center. We call it as a stereogenic center or a chiral center. Here also, this is a molecule having a chiral center. Just to explain the chiral stereogenic center, I have given these examples. I am giving you all these examples. these two they do have the mirror image relationship, but the mirror image relationship or they are not superimposable. Non-superimposable mirror images. These are non-superimposable mirror images. In another case, these two are the achiral objects. Achiral objects means they also have the mirror image relationship, but they are one and the same. Superimposable mirror images. So these are some of the things to be noted here. And then here, if a molecule possesses a plane of symmetry, that molecule is no longer going to behave an optically active compound. For example, if a plane bisects the molecules into two equal halves, when such a plane is present in a molecule, we say that particular molecule is an optically inactive molecule and it is not an optically active molecule. Then this is an example. Here the plane bisecting the molecule into two equal halves. So this is an optically inactive object. Then these are all some of the terms we use in stereochemistry. One is enantiomers, another one is enantiomers, then diastereoisomers. Enantiomers means dextrorotatory compound. Dextro compounds are called as. It is given by the symbol plus, and levo compounds or levorotatory compounds are given by the symbol minus. Dextrorotatory compounds, it has the tendency to rotate the plane polarized light towards right side, and the levorotatory compounds, it has the tendency to rotate the plane polarized light towards the left side. And these two are called as enantiomers. Enantiomorphs means it is called as a racemic mixture. It is equal amount of dextro compounds and levo compounds. When it is present in a mixture, it is called as a racemic mixture. And this is an optically inactive, and these two are dextrorotatory compound and levorotatory compound. Both are optically active substances, whereas racemic mixture is an optically inactive substance. And diastereoisomers are also optically inactive substance. Diastereoisomers means these are the compounds, these are the isomers, they do not have any mirror image relationship, and those mirror image, even if they have the mirror image relationship, those isomers are they are not superimposable. These molecules are optically inactive. Then coming to the examples for an optically active isomer, one is in lactic acid. This is L-lactic acid and this is D-lactic acid. This is a chiral center. Here also we have a chiral center. This carbon is attached to 4 different groups. One is COOH group, another one is methyl group, another one is OH group, then hydrogen. And then this is a chiral center. Here also the 4 different groups, COOH, OH, H, CH3. See, these two compounds, they do have mirror image relationship. Those mirror images are non-superimposable mirror images. So these two are optically active, and this compound is given by the symbol plus, and this compound minus. Levorotatory is minus, and dextrorotatory is given by the symbol plus. Then coming to the next example is the tartaric acid. In the case of tartaric acid, D-tartaric acid is an optically active compound. L-tartaric acid is also an optically active compound, whereas here another acid is there is called as a mesotartaric acid. This is optically inactive compound because there is a plane existing here. Due to the presence of plane of symmetry, this compound no longer behaves as an optically active compound. It behaves as an optically inactive compound because of the presence of the plane of symmetry. Next we shall pass on to the geometrical. So up to this, so far we have discussed about the concepts of optical isomerism and the compounds and the examples of the compounds that exhibits optical isomerism. Next we shall pass on to the geometrical isomerism. In the case of geometrical isomerism, these are the isomers. They have the same molecular formula, but they have the same structural formula, but They differ only in the spatial arrangements of atoms or groups about the carbon-carbon double bond, and they do not have the mirroring